Good evening. It is my honor to be here tonight. I was here on this stage 10 years ago as a second semester high school student. I was Sara, but much less graceful and intelligent than she is. A few things have changed since that night. I likely have more hair on my face and less on my head than I did back then. No one tells you how quickly that starts to happen. But since that spring, when I graduated from Arrupe as class valedictorian, I moved to a little town known as Washington, D.C., graduated Class Marshal, cum laude, from Georgetown University. Thank you. And most recently, became the first in my family and one of the first Arrupe alumni to graduate from law school. In fact, just yesterday, Justice Monica Marquez of the Colorado Supreme Court, who actually joins us here tonight with her beautiful family, administered my oath before my family, the last requirement to officially join the bar. My name just got a little longer. Reaching this milestone has given me the opportunity to reflect on these accomplishments as the fruition of my family's dreams and the vision Arrupe had for me. When I enrolled as a freshman in 2006, Arrupe gifted me and my family with a promise and a vision for a brighter and unlimited future. This promise has followed me and all who have graduated from Arrupe beyond the school's doors. It did not go unnoticed that I was Arrupe's first alum to attend Georgetown, so much so that my first year at Georgetown, I received an email from the vice president of campus of mission and ministry, Father Kevin O'Brien. And it read, "Jose, I think General Colin Powell just mentioned you on national television." You can imagine what that did to my 18-year-old self. He told me that General Powell had been interviewed on MSNBC for their Education Week segment, and he mentioned the interview of a young Hispanic student who attended a Catholic high school in Denver, Colorado, and was accepted to Georgetown as an example of the transformative power of a meaningful education. Father O'Brien told me he couldn't think of anybody else at Georgetown who fit that description, nor could I. I later watched the video where the former Secretary of State mentioned an interview I conducted with 9 News. In the interview, I explained that graduating from Arrupe meant changing the history of my family and the families of my peers for my peers. Months later, I had the honor and opportunity to meet General Powell. We sat in his office talking about Colorado, being first generation in our families to go to college, and growing up in an immigrant household. It was surreal to me that the former Secretary of State wanted to know my story. This relationship has meant the world to me because both General Powell and I share a passion for education. I admire him deeply for his service to our country, especially the education and advocacy work that he and his wife have committed to throughout the years. Of course, none of this would be possible without Arrupe. Arrupe made sure people in DC knew I was coming, maybe a warning. And they made sure that I would have connections to help me. This is why Father O'Brien knew me. I think his sister herself probably texted him and knew my story and knew Arrupe and was able to connect me to General Powell. Although that interview from 10 years ago captured some of my story, it did not address all the ways that Arrupe had been a blessing in my life. Arrupe's education is a lot more than a college preparatory curriculum and a whole bunch of 14-year-olds going to work. Arrupe was and is the people, the faculty, the staff, my coworkers from my work study, and the care that they showed me and my family. Their love and support guided me during my high school years. These are the people who stood with me and my family when my father lost his small business during the recession, who were unwilling to let me fail. High school for some may be a distant and detached memory of an anxious and awkward time, but not for me. I hold my memories of Arrupe with fondness and a great sense of gratitude. Of course, those memories didn't end when I graduated in 2010. Returning to Arrupe's hallways as an alumni and sitting in the principal's office gave me a sense of peace when there was so much uncertainty in my life. Throughout college, Arrupe's support continued for me in the form of monthly, sometimes weekly, calls, care packages, and visits to campus. Those seemingly small acts were no small acts for me. They reminded me that I wasn't alone and that I would succeed. It was this support that gave me the courage to apply to Georgetown's most competitive and prestigious programs. I learned to set the bar higher each time. I learned not to fear trying. To this day, I consider myself the luckiest person for having met the mentors and friends that I did at Georgetown. Hoya Saxa. Having succeeded in college as the son of parents without a college degree gave me the audacity to believe anything was possible. Therefore, I applied for law school in pursuit of my dream to become an attorney. As a way to lessen the financial burden of law school, I decided to keep working and build on my legal experience while I attended Georgetown Law at night. During difficult moments, I would ask myself, how can I keep working full-time and going to school? And then my 14-year-old self would remind me that I had been working and going to school since I was at Arrupe. My 14-year-old self is still wise beyond his years. This past May, I finally graduated from Georgetown Law. Thank you. Although these accomplishments are unique among people who grew up in my community and who look like me, I'm not unique among my Arrupe peers, or as Liz would say, I'm pretty average. I am one in a choir of voices to testify to the life-altering power Arrupe's education had on our lives. Rarely does something so profoundly change and alter lives the way Arrupe's education does for its students. I would know I'm living it right now. When a student walks into Arrupe, she is met with a sense of freedom to reimagine an exciting life and future for herself. The Jesuit values demand us that we go into the margins and serve those in need. Arrupe Jesuit lives that mission and gives those at the margins keys to doors of opportunity. Arrupe stands for a radical sense of love, one that does not hold your hand or coddle you and tell you blindly that everything is going to be okay. No, this love is the type that holds you accountable to responsibilities, professionalism, deadlines. It is the radical love that makes you see the world outside your perspective and holds you accountable not just to yourself, but to your community. This radical approach helped me turn what seemed like impossible collections of dreams into realities. This is what happens when you give a kid like me an opportunity to find a deeper sense of purpose, to be courageous, and to become my best self. For this, I am eternally grateful to you, Arrupe. I am so blessed to have my family joining me tonight, my mother, my father, my sister, my 3 heroes. I recognize that letting me go pursue my dreams miles away from home, not in Uganda, but in DC, was not easy. But my family stood by me every step of the journey and cheered me on. I will be ever so blessed if I can achieve even a fraction of the loving, humble, and selfless humans my parents are. Mami, papi, son y siempre serán mi corazón, mi seres y mi mundo. to my sister, you have showed me that even though no one else in our family had gone to college, it was possible. You have been my courage, and you have been my co-conspirator from the beginning. To my beloved Arrupe, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this opportunity and for being the launching pad into what is now my life. Through my experiences, Arrupe became part of my family, and every member of my family became part of Arrupe. To the faculty and staff, please know that you change lives and make dreams come true every day. And to my work-study colleagues, Michelle and Kevin, thank you for taking me at 14 years old, trusting me, believing in me, and instigating every crazy idea I had. Finally, thank you to our benefactors for being part of this great celebration and for supporting the mission that Arrupe Jesuit High School represents. To all of you who have supported Arrupe and who have supported me and who have taken me out to dinner countless times, thank you. The school would not be possible without the compassion and support you have demonstrated throughout the years. At the risk of the Oscars music kicking me off stage, I will say one last thing. 10 years ago when I came on this stage, a man and person who I have come to care for profoundly told me that when the going got tough, to think back on this night and to think back on the hundreds of people who believed not just in the mission, but in every Arrupe student, including myself. I thought back of that night a lot, so thank you. My wish for Arrupe is that the vision that inspired its opening in 2003 continues to grow and give students like me a bright and fulfilling life. Thank you so much.